Hello everyone and welcome to the Sydney Gay Meditation Group. I'm coming to you from Gadigal land in Sydney, and I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of this land and pay my respects to Aboriginal elders past and present, and to any First Nations people that might be here with us tonight. We've got a lot of people that are logged in tonight. It's great to see so many people here. We've been going for over 10 years now. We're a group that welcomes everyone. We welcome everyone of all genders and all sexualities. The other special thing about this group, of which there are many special things, but one other special thing is that we're not tied to any particular meditation practice. So every week we have a different person leading, and they lead usually a different style of meditations, because there are so many different types of meditations to try. It could be a mindfulness or a movement or a spiritual, it could be all sorts of things. And every week is just that little bit different. Tonight's meditation is being led to us by Bhante Akaliko. Bhante has led many meditations for us before. This is the first one he's led for us online, I think, isn't it, Bhante? I think so. This is your second. Fantastic. So we liked him so much, we invited him back again. Now, Bhante is a monk in the Theravada forest tradition. He lives in a monastery with a very amusing name, The End of the World. Is that the name of it?
That's right, the monastery at the end of the world. Yeah. The
monastery at the end of the world, which is a great name for a monastery, I think. But look, enough. I will let him talk about himself and what he's going to be doing with us tonight. So over to you, Bhante.
Thank you so much, and it's always such a pleasure to be here with all my friends at Sydney Gay Meditation. And tonight I'm talking to you about meditation, and James already kind of talked a little bit about something that's really important for us to understand with meditation. And that is, firstly, that there are many types of meditation. And so this is important because often when we talk about meditation, we're talking about a particular kind of meditation, a particular way of meditating, and these all have very different purposes and very different results. So there's no right or wrong kind of meditation. There's no right or wrong way to meditate in some ways, but there are ways that we can get wisdom from our meditation practice. And this is probably one of the aims that is very useful for us to have in our lives, is this mental cultivation, this cultivation of understanding, developing clarity of mind, and developing wisdom. This is the way that we know that our spiritual practice is working. It's where we can expect to see some results in our lives, is through this understanding that comes, this clarity, this wisdom that we can develop through our mental practice, through meditation. We should also see it in other areas of our lives too, especially in our relationships with other people and the way we interact with the world. So we want to see this mental practice that we have showing up somewhere in our life. And actually, there's not really that much distinction between our meditation practice and our life. There shouldn't be this artificial construction that meditation is somehow completely separate from the way we live. That meditation is something discrete and that happens in isolation, detached from the rest of our life. And the way that we know this is because we come to meditation, we sit down and we see that our life comes into the meditation practice. You don't just leave that mind behind. Wherever you are, wherever you go, that's where your mind is. And so we need to understand that when we sit down to meditate, that the past is coming into our mind somehow. The good thing to realize too is that meditation has an impact. Meditation has an effect. And we often feel when we finish our meditation and go back into the world, completely transformed. We take that mind of meditation with us. So meditation is a beautiful space that we can create to process some of the things that have happened in our life, to understand the relationship between cause and effect. Why do I feel like this? Why is there this thought in my mind? What happened when I said that? You know, these things come into our mind. We see them more clearly because we're creating this beautiful space. And when we see things more clearly, we can develop that wisdom. We can feel good about ourselves. We can go into the world refreshed. So these images of clarity and refreshment, and also of problems and what we call defilements or unskillful, unhelpful emotions. These are something that the Buddha often talked about. So in our meditation practice, we have this opportunity to prevent unskillful, unwholesome, unhelpful states from arising. And we have an opportunity to abandon ones that are already there that are unskillful, unhelpful. And we have an opportunity to cultivate wholesome meditation states, wholesome mind states, skillful mind states. And we have an opportunity to maintain those so that we don't fall into unhelpful, unskillful patterns, unhelpful, unskillful thoughts and behaviors. So this is known as the 4 right efforts in Buddhism. This is our practice through mental cultivation. So that's to prevent unarisen, unwholesome states, to abandon arisen, unwholesome states, to cultivate wholesome states, and to maintain those wholesome states. That's the really hard one to do. When we talk about these unwholesome states, it's a bit vague, but actually the Buddha talked about them in a very specific and very clear way. These unwholesome, unhelpful, unskillful states are the 5 hindrances. So hindrances are literally obstacles, things that impede us. And these are things that will impede us in life and will also cause us problems in our meditation practice. And out of all the many meditations you've done, out of all the different types of meditation you've done, out of all the good times and bad times, the things that are going to obstruct your practice can be distilled into these 5 hindrances. So the way the Buddha talked about these hindrances was quite beautiful. He uses a simile, and I'll use that simile tonight. It's a simile of a bowl of water. So when we have a bowl of water, it's very clear, very still. This is the kind of meditation that we might want to aim for. We want to have a peaceful mind, a still mind, a mind that is clear. So this is that bowl of water, very still, very clear, really nice. However, when these 5 hindrances come along, that water isn't clear. That water is stirred up in some ways, and we can no longer see clearly. You might think that this clear bowl of water is a little bit like our mind. We want to see it clearly, see what's going on, what really is our mind, what it means to be conscious, what it means to be alive. So the first hindrance, hindrance number 1, probably the biggest one that we have to deal with, is sense desire. So sense desire is just any kind of sensory experience that the mind reaches out for. It could be you just come down to sit and then suddenly you think, oh, I just might have some ice cream first. Or, oh, maybe I'll just get more comfortable, maybe I'll lie down. Or maybe I'll go and put some music on. Or why don't I watch some Netflix? So this is the mind going out to a sensory object, seeking something to entertain ourselves with. And this is a problem for us because this will take us away from our meditation very quickly. You know how difficult it is now to stand waiting for a friend to arrive without reaching for the phone and starting to scroll through? This is the same thing. with our meditation. We come down to sit and suddenly we're just like, oh, what can I entertain myself with now? What should I do? What should I use? And this is what it means to have a mind full of sense desire. So the image that the Buddha used is the image of a bowl of water sprinkled with colourful dyes. So this is obviously they didn't have smartphones. I mean, imagining that a bowl of water could be a simile for sense desire doesn't seem so exciting, but it's full of colour, full of movement. It's just like us on our phones. So this is the image that the Buddha used, this colour dyes splashing through the water. And so this is the first hindrance that we'll encounter when we come to meditate. The second is ill will. Ill will, resentment, grudge, anger, hatred, thoughts of cruelty. Probably all seen these arise in our mind. And just as with that sense desire, we were reaching out for something, moving away from being content, with ill will, we're pushing something away. We don't want it. We hate it. We have aversion in the mind. And this, of course, takes away our peace. The image that the Buddha uses is this bowl of water that is boiling, bubbling. This is what it's like when we have this hindrance in our mind, bubbling with anger. You feel it in your body and in your mind. There's this bubbling energy. Oh, I hate them so much. I wish I could get them back for what they did to me. And you're plotting revenge and wanting to inflict some pain on them or some cruelty. And this mind is quite agitated. And so this is why it's a hindrance. Firstly, it's not very helpful to us. We're the first ones who suffer when we have a mind full of anger, full of hatred and ill will. It affects us first. Our peace is disturbed. But also, if we take that mind out into the world, that anger, that ill will, then it's likely to have an impact in our lives as well. And so this is a drawback for us in our meditation. When the mind is full of anger, we don't have any peace. We don't have any love, kindness, gentleness in our hearts. So this is why it's considered a hindrance. And the third hindrance that we can have is dullness and drowsiness. So this is when the mind is very heavy and we're starting to fall asleep. The mind becomes very, very, very unworkable. We've probably all experienced this in our meditation. When this dullness and drowsiness hits, it's impossible to focus on the object of our meditation. The mind is dull. It's not bright. You can't see things clearly. The mind feels like it's walking through mud, very heavy, very unwieldy kind of mind. It's not bright and fresh and buoyant. And so the image that the Buddha uses here is the image of that bowl of water covered in pond slime, covered in moss. It's kind of like this image of sloth. You know, you've seen images of sloth. They actually have like mold on their body because they move so slowly. The moss and I don't know if it's mold, but the moss grows over their fur. And so this is what our mind becomes like when it's dull and drowsy, when it's full of sloth and torpor, that heavy, a layer of moss, of pond slime, obscuring that clarity that we need. There's a difference though between just being tired because we've had a busy week and we're exhausted from, you know, a full day of work, looking after our partners, family, whatever. There's a difference between physical tiredness and the kind of inertia that we can have in the mind that is dullness and drowsiness. And the way you can tell the difference is to have a good nap. And if you wake up and you feel refreshed and then you go and meditate and you feel heavy, then that's dullness and drowsiness. And if you wake up and you feel refreshed and you go back to meditate and you feel fine, then you knew it was just that physical tiredness at play. But this is still a hindrance because we can't make progress in our meditation when we have this heavy mind. The fourth hindrance that the Buddha talked about is restlessness and remorse. So restlessness is this agitation that we have. It's very closely linked to that sense desire. Usually when we're restless, we want to go and do something. We want to move around. We want to change what we're doing. We want to mix it up. We want to go looking for something else to do. And this restlessness takes us away from our meditation, takes us away from peace. It moves us forward in time, wanting a future happiness, looking for something ahead, something that we want to do. And the second part of that hindrance, the remorse, remorse is looking back to the past, feeling unhappy about something that happened, that we did, feelings of woe and regret. And these come into the mind, disturb our peace. So these two, restlessness towards the future, remorse towards the past, these two things will take us away from peace and take us away from the present moment. The image that the Buddha used is that bowl of water, stirred up like the wind disturbs the ocean, waves, ripples, movement. This is that agitation in the mind that we can see in the water. Those waves rippling, it's like our thoughts moving around. It's a very strong, very clear image that the Buddha used. And the fifth hindrance, the last one, is doubt. So doubt is not knowing what's right, what's wrong, what's skillful, what's unskillful, what's wholesome or unwholesome. Doubt isn't this skeptical doubt, oh, I wonder what the universe is like, or I wonder what pi represents, or these kind of intellectual, skeptical doubts about the nature of reality. In this case, doubt refers to understanding the teachings, understanding what is good, what is useful. Not knowing what to do in your meditation practice is a hindrance. Not being confident, not being sure of how to practice is a hindrance, because you won't make progress when your mind is confused and full of doubt. You'll be second guessing your experience. You won't understand what you should do at certain stages of meditation and what you shouldn't do. And so this causes problems for you. It means you can't get that clarity of mind, can't get that peace, can't get that wisdom. The image that the Buddha used for doubt is the image of that bowl of water, which is muddy. So when the mind is muddy, we're not sure what we can't see. We can't see anything when the bowl is water full of mud. In the same way, when our mind is muddy, we can't see a way through. We're confused. We're kind of in the darkness. We're unsure. This is why it's very important to have conversations with teachers about meditation practice, to read, to listen to talks, so that we can start to understand more and more how to practice our meditation technique, whatever it is. So these are 5 hindrances that the Buddha talked about. Go through them again. Sense desire, ill will. The third one has those 2 aspects, dullness and drowsiness. Fourth one also has 2 aspects, restlessness and remorse. And the 5th one is doubt. All of these hindrances, they're trouble for our meditation practice. They're like a creeper strangler vine that strangles the tree. That's our meditation, the tree, and the hindrance strangles it. Or the Buddha also compared it to a mountain stream, strong, powerful current of the mountain stream, but someone's digging ditches, channels at the side of that stream. And pretty soon all the water, all the power, all the energy gets drawn into those streams, and that river becomes very weak and powerless. There's no water flowing through it. And so this is two ways that we can understand how those hindrances affect us. So it's important to notice in our meditation when these hindrances are present. Otherwise, they'll take control and strangle our meditation practice. So often you'll be sitting there meditating, and then you'll be drifting off into sleep, nodding, dull, drowsiness, and then only when your head kind of snaps back, where you go, oh, okay, I'm drowsy. So when the hindrance is present, it's taken over our mind already. But can you imagine a mind without hindrances, a mind without sense desire, without wanting anything, free from desire, or a mind that is free from ill will, a mind that loves, is kind? Can you imagine a mind without any dullness and drowsiness that's full of energy, bright, awake? Can you imagine a mind that wants to be still, that isn't restless, that isn't remorseful, that is blissfully happy to be in the moment? And can you imagine a mind that doesn't have any uncertainty, that doesn't have any ignorance or doubt, a mind that sees clearly and that knows, a mind that has wisdom? So this is what it will be like if we don't have those hindrances. And in the Buddhist tradition, abandoning these hindrances is just the beginning of our meditation practice. So we're going to do some meditation now, maybe 10 or so minutes, and we're going to just become aware of qualities that are present in our mind. We're not going to try to force them away, push them away. We're just going to try to become aware of what's going on. And we're going to try to see, are any of those hindrances present? So let's give ourselves some time for meditation, and we'll just take a comfortable position, something that is easy for you and that you're happy to sit in for a few minutes. And so you close your eyes, giving yourself some relaxation for the body, allowing the body to soften. And letting go of all the busyness and activity of your day. Letting go of the past. Not worrying or thinking, not planning the future. Instead, just being here now. Being aware, relaxed, and just watching whatever's going on for you right now. And what's happening in your mind? What kind of thoughts, feelings? Are there thoughts of sensory experience? Are there thoughts of ill will? Of dullness, drowsiness, or restlessness and remorse? Or do you have some doubts? Are you uncertain? And just become aware of whatever's happening with you right now. Seeing, is there a hindrance present? Or knowing, that hindrance is not present. And if there is a hindrance in your mind, can you identify it? Can you feel what it's like? Understanding the effect it has on the mind. And do you know where it came from? How it appeared in your mind? What makes it stronger? And what makes it weaker? And as you watch the mind, seeing it changing, does it stay? Does it disappear? And what's that like when the hindrance is gone? as we come to the end of this very short practice of meditation, reflecting, how do you feel now? Is it different from when you began? Why? Why not? Were you able to see the hindrances present in your mind? Do you understand what it means to have a hindrance? And lastly, did you get any peace, any calm, any clarity with your practice? And if so, why? And then coming back to your space, relaxing your awareness. And when you're ready, gently opening your eyes. It was a very short talk about the 5 hindrances and a short meditation to illustrate them. So I hope you got some benefit from that. We've got some time, I think, for some questions, which are useful if you want to find out more about meditation and have a particular problem. You can use the chat screen to write your question, and someone will read them out to me, I hope. And if there's no questions, that means, I guess, you almost have minds that are like a cool, pure, still bowl of water, which is wonderful.
It is a shy group so far. Any questions from anyone?
Right.
Oh, yes. We have a question from Pancho. Why are there so many Buddhist streams and who do we trust?
Yes, good question. Well, as you know, we've all got the one true teaching. Isn't that interesting that, you know, all the spiritual traditions, I think anyone that tries to convince you that they've got the one true teaching, you should be slightly skeptical of. But the best way is to test it and see for yourself. So I think different Buddhist traditions appeal to different types of personalities and different minds. Some people will really enjoy the visualization and the bodhisattva ideal of the Tibetan tradition. It's something that might really motivate their heart. They might just be interested in all the beautiful colors and movement in the Buddhist, in the Tibetan tradition, because it appeals to their sense of decoration or visual excitement. And that's fine. Some people are attracted to the Theravada tradition that I'm in because they like the idea of these being early Buddhist texts from the very earliest period of Buddhism. And some people are attracted to the Zen tradition for various reasons. And it doesn't matter what tradition you're doing, it's all the same stream. But I think the best way to find out is to test it for yourself and to get to know the teachings, associate with good people from that tradition, and see if it works for you. And for many of us, we'll go on a journey across many different traditions, especially here in the West. We're not born into a specific Buddhist tradition, and so we have this opportunity to cultivate the tradition that works for us and to explore a bit. And that's a really beautiful part of the practice.
Bhante, we have another question from Khalil. How do you manage intrusive thoughts during the meditation?
So if this is a good question, actually, because this is what happens to a lot of us. And one thing to know is that if we've had a really busy day and we've been really active and we've been talking a lot and doing a lot of things with our head, then it's natural that when we come to sit, that is going to follow us into our practice. So we need to allow ourselves some time in our practice to chill out, to relax, to let go of those patterns of thinking. It's normal, it's natural that if we have a busy life, that when we sit down, our mind will be busy. So we need to create a kind of buffer zone. You know, it's like when you are driving really fast and you suddenly brake. It takes some time for the car to slow down and come to a stop. In the same way with our meditation practice, if we've been really busy, it does take some time. So give yourself that luxury of time in your practice just to ease in to meditation. Don't have an unreasonable expectation that if you've been really busy in the world, you can suddenly come sit down and everything goes away. That's not how the mind works. However, you can reduce your activities before you meditate. You can reduce your entertainment and talking and busyness, and this will have some benefit for your practice. This is why meditation retreats are especially really good, because they create an environment where that's possible. So when you do have intrusive thoughts that come into your meditation, you want to be able to identify them, to understand, those thoughts are present. So you have mindfulness. Mindfulness is really important. Mindfulness and wise attention. So if you know that there's an intrusive thought, but you don't understand that it's a drawback, that it's a problem, then that thought is just going to persist. But if you understand, this intrusive thought is causing me troubles, causing me problems, then we're already moving away from being in the grip of that thought. We understand it's a problem for me, my meditation. We understand it doesn't lead to peace, causes problems, doesn't lead to awakening. So when we think about the drawbacks of these kinds of thoughts, we can start to let go of those thoughts. There's a few other techniques that we can do. One is just to ignore it, stop thinking about it. Another technique is to inquire, where did this come from? Why is this persisting? Why am I so obsessed with this thought? And that way we can start to understand what's going on in our mind. And by going to the source of that thought arising, we can let it go. The image that the Buddha used, just very quickly, is the image of a person who's walking. They're walking really fast. They're walking really, really fast. And then they suddenly think, hang on, why am I walking so fast? Why don't I just slow down? And so they slow down. And then they think, why am I walking slowly? Why don't I just stand still? And then they stand still. Why am I standing still? Why don't I sit down? So they sit down. Why don't I make myself comfortable and rest? And then they rest. So they inquire at each stage, why am I doing this? Why is this happening? And they want to get to the source of this problem. And for us, a lot of the time, the reason is we're walking really fast. Our mind is really fast. And when we start to interrogate that and question that and investigate that, we see what's stopping us from resting, from being still, being calm.
Bhante, we have a similar question. How do you deal with anxiety for meditation?
That's a good question also, a really important question, because meditation is not a cure-all for everything. So with anxiety, there's different levels of anxiety. You can have very low level anxiety, and meditation will be good for you, especially walking meditation, pacing back and forth, left, right, very simple, very easy. But if we've got a lot of anxiety in our mind, sometimes I don't recommend doing meditation, because you sit down and you look at your mind, it makes you even more anxious. These thoughts, which have been at the periphery of your daily experience are suddenly very present, very in your face. This can trigger even more anxiety, can make you more agitated, can make you more worried, nervous, and anxious. So if this is the case, if you see that your meditation is making your anxiety worse, then just stop, have a break, give it some time. If you see that when you meditate, you can become calm, that those thoughts are subsiding, that you have the ability to sit still and be content without being overwhelmed, and that's really good. Keep practicing in that way. But be aware, if the meditation starts to make you feel unwell, then stop, don't persist. And another thing which is really good is just to be aware of the breath. Just understanding that the breath is coming in and going out, coming in, going out. And outside of meditation practice, you can interrogate those thoughts that are causing you distress. Ask where they're coming from, why are they here, how can I deal with them? Develop some understanding so that when it comes to sit, you've already done the work on those anxious thoughts. And hopefully that will make sure they don't intrude so much and you can just develop some peace in your mind. So I really recommend walking meditation for anxiety.
Bhante, we have a final question from the Central Coast that says, doubts serve us sometimes. Please comment.
That's true, yes. But when? So the timing is really important for doubts. So again, I want to point out that this is not skeptical doubt, kind of doubt about, should we wear floral prints in the springtime? Or what does the Queen really think about cornflakes? This is not that kind of doubt that's just a thinking, pondering, inquiring mind, which is just distracted and looking for some mental entertainment. And when we talk about doubt in this context, we're specifically talking about what is wholesome, what is unwholesome, what is the way to really develop in my practice, and what is holding me back in my practice. So then when it comes to the meditation, when we're sitting there feeling really blissful, and suddenly all of those hindrances start to vanish and become way, way, way back, away from our attention. Maybe they're still there on a very low level, and suddenly we're like, oh wow, what do I do now? Should I do this? Should I do that? Am I supposed to be, is this the stage of meditation my teacher was talking about? I don't know. Or maybe if I try this, oh, that's not working, maybe I'll do that. So you see how the mind is just going round in circles. It's muddy, it's not clear, it doesn't understand what we should be doing. So when we have these kind of doubt, it's an impediment. Another image that the Buddha used is the image of a traveler crossing a desert. You're in the middle of a desert and suddenly you look around, you don't know where you are. You don't know which direction to go. You're unsure, you're uncertain, and you're hot and you're going to come into some grief. But being free of doubt, knowing what to do, this is like successfully crossing the desert, being in a sanctuary, an oasis. And this is really important for our practice. When we know what we're doing, when we have a good teacher to explain things to us, when we have a good understanding of what it is we're doing in our meditation, when we have an understanding of how our mind works, understanding what is a hindrance and what is a problem and what is something good and beneficial. When we can make those distinctions really clearly, then we feel safe in our practice. We feel secure and we feel comfortable. And this is what helps us to let go and to develop more in our meditation.
Bhante, you mentioned reading. Do you have any suggested books to read that you find inspiring?
Yeah, so there's so many out there. There's a lot of Buddhist books about meditation. One book that I really recommend if you want to explore Buddhist meditation is Mindfulness, Bliss and Beyond by Ajahn Brahm. and he's the person who ordained me as a monk, and he's a very good meditation teacher. This is a very powerful book, but written very simply, very clearly, in beautiful, simple English with a few jokes thrown in. And it talks about very deep states of meditation and how to identify these in your practice and how to work with the mind. So that's one book I'd recommend, Mindfulness, Bliss and Beyond by Ajahn Brahm. And I also recommend Thich Nhat Hanh. Thich Nhat Hanh's a Vietnamese monk. I'm trying to remember the name of one of his books that really helped me. Something about mindfulness, can't remember. But he writes very simply, very clearly, and very beautifully. He also wrote a wonderful little book on anger, which I love. Again, really powerful, very simple, that kind of direct Zen kind of experience. Yeah, it's hard to say. Look, there's so many out there. But
Bhante, you're connected with Queer Bodhi as well, aren't you?
Rainbody, yeah, thank you for mentioning. And can I do a quick plug?
Yes, please, plug away.
Rainbody is a LGBTQIA+ Buddhist community, spiritual friendship group, and we do meditation and social events. And this Saturday, I want to say the 26th, whatever this Saturday is,
yeah,
we're doing a morning meditation in the Sydney Botanic Gardens, and you're all welcome. And I'll share the event on the Sydney Gay Med page tomorrow. And just a chance to sit in the sunshine, in the morning sunshine, in springtime, with a bunch of people, socially distanced, and do some meditation. So you're all very welcome if you'd like to connect with us and our group. Please come along.
It sounds lovely. And yeah, if you could post that on our Facebook page, that would be great. That way we can all access it. Well, thank you very much, Bhante. That was an amazing meditation and explanation and some great questions and answers there. So thank you very much for coming along. It's
always a pleasure.
Always great to see you. If you enjoyed tonight so much that you want to hear it again, we always post these meditations. They'll appear on our Facebook page in the next day or two. Also, there's Queer Meditation Melbourne, which meets at 6 p.m. on Tuesday nights in Melbourne, but you can access that via Zoom. And we now have Queer Meditation Perth that's on Sunday afternoons about once a month. So lots of meditation events, should you wish. Now we're coming towards the end of the evening. Feel free to hang around where we have breakout rooms, and that is a chance for you to chat to each other. So you'll just be in a breakout room with a group of people. We can all say hello. So everyone, hang on for breakout rooms, or if not, we'll look forward to seeing you maybe tomorrow in Melbourne, or maybe at next week's meditation. So thanks for coming, everyone. See you in the breakout rooms or next week. Bye.